Here we are with the Friday evening edition of the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. We call it Weather for Weather Geeks. Hope you had a fine Friday. The weather was fine today. A nice, comfortable start. A little bit warmer this afternoon, but still not very humid today. I wanted to start out this evening with a pretty cool time-lapse from our camera in Niles. This is near Eastwood Mall, of course. And we're facing east here, and this time-lapse begins at 3 a.m., just as Venus was rising in the sky. You're going to see that. There it goes right there. And then the sun rose this morning at about 6:30 or so. Beautiful sunrise this morning with this veil of high clouds overhead. These high cirrus clouds comprised mostly of ice crystals. Not much to dim the sun today. It just made for a little bit of a milky sky from time to time. We've been talking about this a lot this month, the lack of precipitation. Another day in which we put a goose egg on the board as far as rainfall here locally. At the airport, a paltry 1.35 inches for the month. The last measurable rain at the airport was last week, and it wasn't much. And the first 4 days of the month really stand out here. That was when we had most of our rain. In a lot of areas, it has been high and dry now for over 2 weeks. In fact, when you look at the last 14 days, I think some of the coloration here is even a little bit overdone. There's been some places within the blue zone here that have not seen a drop over the last 2 weeks. So generally, when you get into some of these blue colors, if you look up at the legend here, this is mostly a quarter of an inch or less. But again, some of these areas have seen the goose egg for a couple of weeks now, and not much coming at the start of the weekend. Maybe we'll get some measurable rain on Sunday. As bad as it is here, it's actually worse to our east. Borderline at this point, severe drought transpiring now across central PA. This is over near Penn State, State College University. Or State College, Pennsylvania, Penn State University, Williamsport, PA, Altoona, PA, back towards Du Bois and Clearfield. It's really dry over here, and while we are very dry here locally, again, it's a little bit more severe out to our east. The rainfall deficits over the last 60 days, not quite as high up towards Cleveland, Ashtabula, Erie. Those places have really dried out recently, but when you look at the 60-day totals compared to average, it's not quite as bad up there to the north. Dry air remains in place here locally this evening. We have dew points in the upper 40s to around 50. You don't have to travel too far to the south, though, to find the muggy air. As nearby as Wheeling and Steubenville, heading over towards Zanesville and Cambridge. It is quite a bit more humid, and eventually that more humid air will come north, but actually it's going to take a little bit of time. This more humid air will be in no big hurry to come into our area, but it is going to come before the weekend is through. Along the leading edge of that more humid air, actually a couple of rumbles of thunder across the panhandle of West Virginia this evening and south of downtown Pittsburgh as well, and over towards the Cambridge area where 77 meets 70 in southeast Ohio. So our dew points here locally are not too shabby, but it is muggy to our south, and at this time of the year, the muggy air will eventually win. It'll come in Saturday night heading into Sunday. All right, let's go down to the tropics for a moment. Interesting situation here. This is now a tropical storm. This is Laura with winds of 45, gusts to 60, and the pressure not that much lower than it was at this time yesterday at 1,007 millibars. The forecast track has shifted a little farther to the south with this, so it may graze Hispaniola. That's the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Also, parts of Cuba could be impacted. Parts of the Bahamas could be impacted. But this cone is a little farther south than it was at this time yesterday. Overall, the cone would suggest that whether it be a tropical storm or a low-end hurricane, this ends up somewhere in the Gulf early next week, perhaps making landfall near the Keys, and then again, maybe up towards the northern Gulf Coast by Tuesday and Wednesday. At the same time, we have Tropical Depression 14, likely to become a tropical storm here before too much longer. Still fairly disorganized looking now, but probably a tropical storm before too much longer, and then perhaps even a Category 1 hurricane. And very similar timing as far as potential landfall along the Gulf Coast here. We could have two landfalling tropical systems, either a tropical storm and a hurricane, or two hurricanes, or two tropical storms, in fairly close proximity to each other. This one may make landfall somewhere in here, the other one somewhere probably in here, although there are caveats to this. One of these could steal the thunder of the other one. When you have two tropical systems this close together, it's fairly likely one's going to suffer as a result. Also, these two will not merge. Hurricanes don't merge. So they will keep their distance. And it's even possible that the Fujiwara effect becomes something that we end up talking about early next week. That's where low-pressure systems actually orbit around each other. That'll be interesting to see from a satellite and radar perspective early next week if these things actually start interacting with each other in a way and orbiting around each other for a time. It's going to be a meteorological buzzword that makes its way into the mainstream, no doubt, over the next few days. We've seen that in recent years with things like the polar vortex and bombogenesis and things like that. Geeky meteorology words that probably should not be in the public domain, but end up getting there anyway. And I suspect over the weekend you'll hear Fujiwara quite a bit. Area lake forecast this weekend. It's going to be a great summer weekend to hit the lakes, especially tomorrow. We'll be dry tomorrow. No lightning threat tomorrow, well up into the 80s. But if you plan on boating on Sunday, whether it be at Mosquito Lake, Sandy Lake, Guilford Lake, Lake Milton, my favorite lake over in Mercer County, Lake Wilhelm, you may have to duck, for a little bit of time, duck out of the way of showers and storms, because they'll be of the scattered hit or miss variety on Sunday. Again, I think we're dry Saturday. We've removed any chances from precipitation from our forecast. On Sunday, though, it's impossible to say who gets wet, who doesn't, but just know that there will be a scattering of showers and storms. It'll be noticeably more humid on Sunday. Monday likely starts dry, but an unstable atmosphere. This weak front, kind of not far to our north. There could be a pop-up shower or a storm on Monday. Once the humidity ratchets up, it's going to stay elevated for several days, taking us all the way through the end of next week. And summer is far from over. I mean, we're talking heat next week. 88 on Tuesday, 90 on Wednesday, 92 on Thursday. Now, the tropical systems may play a role in our weather by late next week into next weekend. It's hard to say at this early stage how much of a role, but some of that tropical moisture, either from both of them or one of them, may start to get caught up in the flow and may enhance our rainfall possibilities in about a week. We're too early in the ballgame for any details, but that will be a possibility. Some of our modeling wants to pick up on this. You'll notice by the end of this chart, the end of next week, our models suggesting that we start picking up more appreciable amounts of rain. That would be a good thing. In case you missed this last night, CPC, Climate Prediction Center, put out their initial September outlook, and we have elevated odds of a warmer than average month. We've had 5 warm Septembers in a row, so if this forecast verifies, it would be 6 in a row. Not much of a signal as far as precipitation in September. We want a wetter than average month, but there's nothing to suggest that is all that likely at this point. As far as meteorological fall, September, October, November, coast to coast, warmer than average temperatures are favored. Much like the September forecast, though, there's not much of a strong signal right now as far as precipitation trends here locally in September, October, and into November. All right, I've babbled long enough on this Friday evening. Hope you have a great weekend, everyone. We'll keep you up to date on those rain chances on Sunday throughout the course of the weekend. Make sure you're following the rest of our team, including the Storm Tracker 21 accounts on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll see you back here on Monday for a fresh edition of Weather for Weather Geeks.